Is regarding yung vitamins and minerals. So, yung mga vitamins, alam ko nadaanan na natin to sa lecture, yung mga certain enzymes we've encountered before, kailangan nila yung mga vitamins in order to function. No? Some of them serve as cofactors, coenzymes to certain reactions that are needed by our body. So, our lecture for today is to discuss the different types of vitamins, yung different functions of each vitamin, and the implications kapag meron tayong deficiency or excess of these vitamins as well as the minerals. So, anong pinagkaiba ng vitamins sa minerals? Yung vitamins are organic, yung minerals are inorganic. So, these substances are necessary para sa mga properly mag-function yung metabolic processes natin sa katawan natin. So, dun muna tayo sa vitamins. Now, vitamins are divided into two types. So, meron tayong fat-soluble and we have your water-soluble vitamins. So, itong dalawang, bakit natin kina-classify itong vitamins based on solubility? Because the solubility has very important clinical implications. The fact na fat-soluble yung certain vitamins, ibig sabihin, you need properly working fat, digestion, and absorption para ma-absorb itong vitamins na to. Okay? The fact that they are also fat-soluble means that yung mga vitamins na to can actually dissolve in your adipose tissue. So, pag napupunta siya sa adipose, pwede siyang ma-imbak doon, pwede siyang mag-accumulate, it can lead to toxicity. Okay? So, yung fat-soluble vitamins can accumulate in the body because they can be stored in your fat. Okay? Next. You have naman your water-soluble vitamins. So, bakit bakit important yung water solubility nila? Because the fact that they're water soluble, ibig sabihin, madali silang dumaan sa bloodstream, madali silang ma-pass out in urine. Okay? So, itong water soluble vitamins, madali silang ma-eliminate. Therefore, they are less likely to accumulate. Therefore, they are less prone to toxicity. So, pag tinanong ka kung anong toxicity nung any of the water-soluble vitamins, your default answer is none o kaya rare. Kasi, yung mga water-soluble vitamins natin, usually, na-eliminate sila in the urine. Okay? In fact, kunyari, di ba, pag uminom ka ng vitamin C, nag-megadose ka ng vitamin C, ang gagawin lang ng katawan mo, kukunin niya lang talaga yung kailangan niya. The rest will be urinated. Kaya yung mga sinasabing, yung mga taong naglalaklak ng vitamin C para daw lumakas yung resistensya, iniihi lang nila lahat yun, yung mga extra nun. Okay? So, walang point ng sobrang daming iniinom na vitamin C. Okay? So now let's go first to our fat-soluble vitamins kasi masyado marami to. Unahin natin yung mas konti, syempre. Your fat-soluble vitamins will start by discussing your vitamin A. So, vitamin A is also known as retinol. Meron din siyang other forms such as retinal as well as your carotenoids. So, your vitamin A is a known component of your visual pigment. The visual pigment, known as rhodopsin, is the one that converts the light that you get from the environment. Tapos, kino-convert siya into nerve impulses para mapunta siya sa brain, no? So, this visual pigment is necessary when you receive light information. Okay? Kaya yung, sabi nila, di ba, vitamin A, pampalinaw ng mata. Kasi nakakatulong siya sa vision mo. Kapag kulang ka ng vitamin A, you tend to develop nyctalopia, also known as night blindness. Kasi kapag night, konti lang yung ilaw, so mas konti yung makikita mo, 'di ba, in theory. Pero yung ang tutulong sa iyo makakita in dark environments is the presence of the visual pigment. Kapag konti yung visual pigment mo sa gabi, syempre mas mahihirapan kang makakita. Okay? Next, another function of your vitamin A is the regulation of cell differentiation and the maintenance of epithelial tissue. Kaya yung ang vitamin A keeps your epithelium healthy. That's why kapag meron kang deficiency of vitamin A, you tend to develop yung tinatawag natin keratomalacia or corneal degeneration. There is drying, there is scaling of the cornea of the epithelium of your eyes. And minsan, yung mga may vitamin A deficiency, meron tayong na-observe sa kanilang tinatawag na beetle spots. So, ganito yung itsura nun. meron parang scaling or parang kulay puti na may kita mo doon sa gilid ng mata nila, usually on the surface of their conjunctiva, no? So, itong bitote spots na to, pag may nakita kang ganyan, one of the things that you can consider is vitamin A deficiency. Okay? Since your vitamin A maintains epithelial tissue, deficiency of vitamin A can also lead to keratinization or hardening of the skin. Okay? Kaya nga itong si vitamin A, sinasama siya sa skincare, 'di ba? Kasi kasama, 'di ba, skincare ingredient na sikat is your retinol. And since retinol is also a potent antioxidant. Kaya nga marami siyang skincare skincare benefits, no? Okay? So another function of your vitamin A is that it supports sperm production in your men. Okay? So what are the functions of your what are the therapeutic applications rather of your vitamin A aside from skincare, no? It's used in the treatment of severe acne. Yung mga may severe acne, binibigyan sila ng vitamin A in the form of isotretinoin. I don't know if some of you have already was already given this drug, pero yung mga taong may severe acne, binibigyan sila ng isotretinoin. Yung isotretinoin, hindi siya basta-basta ini-start, no? Yung mga, lalo na kapag yung may severe acne ay babae, what they do, in theory, hindi ko alam kung ginagawa ng lahat ng derma, in theory, before mag-start ng isotretinoin in the treatment of severe acne, dapat lahat ng babae of childbearing age ay mag-undergo ng pregnancy test. Bakit kailangan mag-pregnancy test? Because vitamin A toxicity can lead to teratogenic effects. Anong ibig sabihin ng teratogenic? Nag-degenerate siya ng side effects doon sa unborn child. So, kung yung babae buntis, tapos sinistart mo siya ng isotretinoin, posibleng yung bata na lalabas merong cleft palate or merong cardiac abnormalities. So, pwede siyang side effect of the isotretinoin in the unborn baby. Wala naman siyang kinalaman sa acne ng nanay niya, di ba? So, kawawa naman siya. Okay, so yung kaya nga din yung isotretinoin is one of the things we ask for when we're screening your blood donors. Kasi, syempre, kung yung nag-donate, nag-isotret pala siya, baka mamaya mapunta doon sa pregnant woman, no? So, syempre, ayaw naman natin na magkaroon ng teratogenic effects ay nagpasalin lang naman siya ng dugo. Okay? Next, another therapeutic application of your vitamin A is in the treatment of measles. So, yung mga batang may measles, binibigyan nila ng vitamin A kasi nakakatulong silang magpabilis ng recovery. Your vitamin A is also one of the treatment of choice for your acute promyelocytic leukemia. Binibigyan sila ng form of vitamin A, yung all-trans retinoic acid. Okay? So, didiscuss nyo naman yan sa hiba nyo. So, next, other forms of toxicity of vitamin A is excessive desquamation, alopecia, as well as hepatic effect. Pero ang tatandaan nyo dito, si teratogenicity. Okay? Next, let's go naman to your vitamin D. Your vitamin D is also known as calciferol. Cholecalciferol is a form number 1, it's D3. Ergocalciferol is D2. So, calciferol, pag sinabi lang vitamin D, pag D3, cholecalciferol, pag D2, ergocalciferol. So, what does your vitamin D do? Your vitamin D actually acts as a hormone. And bakit siya nagiging hormone? Kasi this vitamin D will trigger your other cells to respond in order to normalize your calcium serum levels in response to hypocalcemia. So, for example, hypocalcemia, ano ibig sabihin yan? Hypocalcemia is decreased calcium in the blood. So, kapag mababa yung calcium mo, anong mangyayari? It will trigger the release of vitamin D. Vitamin D will act on your bone, act on your intestines to increase calcium absorption, act on your bone to increase bone resorption para tumaas yung calcium levels, para mag-normalize na siya. Okay? So, yun yung ginagawa ng vitamin D. So, your vitamin D is used in the treatment and prevention of bone disorders, lalo na yung mga may hypocalcemia, no? And it's also used to supplement breastfed infants kasi minsan kulang yung vitamin D content ng breast milk ng mother, no? So, what happens when you have deficiency of vitamin D? So, kapag wala kang vitamin D, what happens? Wala kang vitamin D, meron kang hypocalcemia, wala kang vitamin D, ang mangyayari, ibig sabihin, hindi tataas yung calcium levels mo in hypocalcemia. You develop something called rickets. So, sa rickets, humihina yung bone structure ng mga bata. Kapag sa matanda naman siya nangyari, you call it osteomalacia. So, rickets, yung may makikita nyo, may bowing of the legs. Tapos, meron tayong nakikita dong finding na tinatawag na rachitic rosary. Rachitic, in reference to rickets, and rosary, kasi mukha siyang may beads ng rosary. So, ito, makikita to doon sa may edge ng ribs nila, doon sa tinatawag na costochondral junction. Kasi, mababa yung, mahina yung integrity ng bone, nung ribs nila mismo, kaya nagkakaroon ng ganyan. Okay? Nagbe-bend yung ribs nila. Okay? What happens naman if you have excess of vitamin D? What does your vitamin D do? It normalizes calcium serum levels in response to hypocalcemia. So, may hypocalcemia ka, nag-trigger ng release of vitamin D, kaso sumobra-sobra yung release ng vitamin D, ang mangyayari, so sobra din yung calcium. So, pag tumaas yung calcium, ibig sabihin, you will get hypercalcemia, na kapag sobrang taas, pwedeng lumabas in the urine in the form of hypercalciuria. Okay? So, tapos na tayo sa vitamin D. Now, let's go to vitamin E, a very famous antioxidant, di ba? Si tocopherol. Si alpha tocopherol, napapanood nyo sa commercial ng Myre E, no? So, vitamin E is an antioxidant. So, what does your antioxidant do? Sila yung nagpe-prevent ng damage to your cells via oxidative stress. So, imbis na ma-oxidize yung cells mo, ang na-oxidize na lang is your vitamin E. So, kapag yung red blood cell mo, yung na-oxidize, pwede silang mag-burst and it can lead to hemolytic anemia. Kaya pag kulangan ng vitamin E, wala nagpo-protect ng red blood cells mo against hemolysis, no? And then, kapag yung nerve and muscle mo naman yung naapektuhan nung oxidative stress na yon, it can lead to weakness. Okay? So, yung vitamin E, as mentioned, di ba ginagamit siya as skin creams? Pero syempre, may yung vitamins natin, sabi natin, yung fat-soluble vitamins natin, still has some toxic effects, no? So, sa bata, hindi siya ginagamit because there is risk of enterocolitis. Pero, as far as your fat-soluble vitamins are concerned, vitamin E is the least toxic of all fat-soluble vitamins. Parang sa adults, wala pa akong nababasa. Hindi ko naman sure kung siyempre 100% wala. Pero, in comparison to the other fat-soluble vitamins, vitamin E is the least toxic. Okay? Next, doon na tayo kay vitamin K. This one is high yield for hematology. So, alam ko maghihima naman kayo. I don't know when, pero kapag naghima na kayo, may encounter nyo to si vitamin K pa ulit-ulit. Kasi vitamin K is necessary for your clotting homeostasis, no? So, vitamin A is also known as phylloquinone. It's also known as menaquinone. It's also known as menadione. So, your vitamin K is a cofactor necessary in order to mature several of your clotting factors. Itong clotting factors na to, si 2, 7, 9, and 10, i-memorize nyo naman yan. So, simulan nyo na ngayon kasi tinatanong yan sa board exam. Okay, so vitamin K is necessary for the maturation of clotting factors 2, 7, 9, and 10. And it's usually synthesized by your gut bacteria. Okay? So, yung mga adults, kumain sila ng vegetables, gagawang vitamin K yun ng, ng mga alaga mo sa tiyan, no? So, sino ngayon ang walang vitamin K? Ang walang vitamin K is yung mga newborns. Kasi yung mga bata, pag lumabas sila from the uterus, di ba? Pag nanganak na yung nanay, wala pa siyang bacteria. Sterile pa yung gut niya, wala pa siyang normal flora sa katawan niya, no? So, wala pa silang means of producing enough vitamin K. So, yung mga batang pinanganak sa bahay, most of the time, they end up, hindi naman most of the time, some of them end up with hemorrhagic disease of the newborn kasi kulang sila ng clotting factors. Kasi kung wala silang clotting factors, hindi magka-clot. Kung meron man silang maliliit na sugat, so magdudugo sila, magkakaroon sa ng hemorrhagic disease. So, how is that prevented? Anong ginagawa nating prophylaxis for hemorrhagic disease of the newborn? You give all newborns, yung mga pinanganak sa hospital, pinanganak sa lying-in, pinanganak sa center, kung saan man, sa maternity clinic, lahat ng newborn binibigyan ng vitamin K injection. Para meron silang vitamin K na enough vitamin K for the maturation of clotting factors, hindi sila magkaroon ng hemorrhagic disease of the newborn. Okay? Another thing regarding your vitamin K is that we mentioned it's synthesized by gut bacteria, so vitamin K deficiency can be used in those can be seen in those with prolonged antibiotic use. Kasi syempre, yung antibiotics, ang inaatake nito, bacteria. So, dadaan siya sa tiyan mo. So, syempre, pwedeng ma-disturb yung normal flora mo sa gut. No? Pwedeng kumonti sila, kaya magkaroon ka ng vitamin K deficiency. Okay? So, as far as toxicity is concerned naman, syempre, pwedeng mag-lead to excessive bleeding and hemolytic anemia as well as jaundice. Okay? So, ito pala, meron pala ako nakalimutan banggitin. As far regarding therapeutic applications of your vitamin K. It's used in the reversal of something called warfarin toxicity. Warfarin is an anticoagulant. Ano yung anticoagulant? Pampalabnaw ng dugo para hindi siya nagka-clot. Bakit natin binibigyan minsan ng anticoagulant ang mga pasyente? Kasi nagka-clot sila, nasustroke sila, inaatake sila sa puso. Kasi pag nagbara yung daanan ng dugo, yun yung nakaka-cause ng stroke, yun yung nakaka-cause ng heart attack. So minsan yung mga pasyente, bibigyan natin sila ng anticoagulant such as warfarin. So yung mga iba naka-maintenance dito. Pero dahil naka-maintenance sila, syempre meron silang chance na mag-develop ng toxicity kapag sumobra na inom nilang warfarin. So anong ginagawa doon sa mga sumobra ng inom ng warfarin? Yung warfarin kasi, this drug actually inhibits yung clotting factors na to. Okay? So, para i-reverse yung action ng warfarin, dadamihan mo ngayon yung clotting factors para kahit may warfarin dyan, meron ka pa rin pang-mature nung pang-mature nung clotting factors na to. Dadamihan mo ng vitamin K. Okay? So, yun yung another function of your, another therapeutic application of your vitamin K. Okay? So, next doon na tayo sa water-soluble vitamins. Marami-rami ito. Yung B pa lang, napakadami kasi, ewan ko, bakit ang dami nila. Pero marami sila. Okay? Pero karamihan naman nito, na-encounter na natin before, di ba? For example, itong si vitamin B1, si thiamine, we've already encountered it before because it serves as cofactors for several different enzymes na na-discuss na natin, no? Si alpha-ketoglutarate dehydrogenase is part of the Krebs cycle. Your pyruvate dehydrogenase is the one that oxidizes pyruvate to acetyl-CoA. And your trans-ketolases is used in the interconversion of sugars in the pentose-phosphate pathway. Yung branch-chain keto acid dehydrogenase, gumagawa ng 3 amino acids. Yung branch-chain amino acids natin, si valine, si isoleucine, at saka si leucine. Okay, so, So, itong enzymes na to, you need vitamin B1 or also known as thiamine para gumana sila properly. Okay, so these are the sources of your B1. Your B1 is actually one of the vitamins that is fortified in your food. So yung mga rice, minsan nilalagyan na nila ng vitamin B1 para hindi magkaroon ng thiamine deficiency yung mga bata, no? Bakit ayaw nila ng thiamine deficiency? Because it can lead to something called beriberi. So, there are 2 types of beriberi. Meron tayong wet for children. Yun for adults, yun yung dry. Anong nangyayari sa wet beriberi? There is heart failure in children, di ba? So, by heart failure, madalas sa matatanda na nakikita. So, bata pa lang, nagkakaroon na sila ng high output heart failure. Yung beriberi naman in adults is more of neurologic symptoms. So, more on the brain yung affect nito. Merong silang neuropathy and paralysis. So, beriberi, tandaan, is associated with vitamin B1. Paano tatandaan? Berry. Okay? So, B1. So, beriberi. Okay? Next, you have your Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome seen in chronic alcoholics. So, ano yung Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome? Yung may Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome, yung mga chronic alcoholics, yung mga araw-araw umiinom ng Alfonso, ganyan, ang nangyayari sa kanila, nadadami, kakainom nila ng alcohol, nadadamage yung lining ng intestines nila. So, pagka-damage yung lining ng intestines, the certain portion responsible for thiamine deficiency becomes damaged. So, hindi nila na-absorb yung thiamine in the blood, no? In the food, in the food that they eat, no? So, they develop yung Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome. Ano nangyayari sa mga taong may Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome? Meron silang ataxia or disordered gait. So, para silang lasing kahit na hindi na sila nakainom, yung lakad nila pang lasing pa din. Okay? They tend to have neurologic symptoms, kagaya na sa drive beriberi, di ba? Neurologic ang affect. Yung Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome, neurologic din ang affect. Nagkakaroon sila ng hallucinations, nagkakaroon sila ng tinatawag natin confabulations, yung pag kinausap mo sila, mag-iimbento sila ng kung anong kwento, kahit na hindi naman yun yung pinag-uusapan. Nagkakaroon din sila ng confusion at nagkakaroon sila ng ophthalmoplegia or impaired movement ng eyes nila. Okay? So, yun yung implications of vitamin B1 deficiency. Okay? Now, let's go to vitamin B2, which is riboflavin. So, itong riboflavin, na-discuss naman natin. And as far as deficiency, hindi naman siya super high yield, no? Ang tatandaan nyo lang dito, your riboflavin is the precursor for your FAD and FMN, which we have encountered in your electron transport chain, di ba? So, ano yung nangyayari sa may deficiency ng riboflavin? Meron tayong stomatitis or sclerosis, di ba? Pag meron kang bibig, nagkakaroon ng parang scales doon sa gilid, yung nagbabakbak-bakbak siya, or nagka-crack yung corners of the mouth. You call that angular stomatitis or chelosis. You can also encounter glossitis or yung tongue nila nagiging kulay magenta kasi sobrang namamaga siya. As well as there is corneal vascularization or nadadagdagan yung blood vessels na sa cornea. So, mukha silang sabog. Okay? Next, yung vitamin B3 or your niacin. So, this one is one of the high-yield vitamins, no? Kasi marami siyang purpose in life. So, what are the di ba yung vitamin B3, as we mentioned, is the precursor for NAD, NADP, NADPH, NADH. So, niacin is also known as nicotinamide, also known as niacinamide. It's a skincare ingredient din. Okay? So yung mga vitamins, gusto nila nilalagay sa skincare nga. Kasi it's good for your epithelium, no? So, your vitamin B3, I don't know if you still remember from our amino acid lecture, is derived from tryptophan. Di ba sabi natin sa amino acid, ano yung mga derived from tryptophan? Melatonin, serotonin, and niacin. So, it's derived from tryptophan. Yung mga taong may deficiency in tryptophan, yung mga taong may heart valve disease, kasi hindi sila makapag-reabsorb ng tryptophan, dahil wala silang tryptophan, ibig sabihin, wala din silang mapoproduce na vitamin B3. So, so what happens when you have B3 deficiency? You develop something called pellagra. Yung condition is called pellagra, and there are 3 plus 1 actually. Sabi nila, 4 daw yung D's of pellagra. You get diarrhea, you get dementia, you get dermatitis. The 4th one is death. Okay? So, pwede daw nakakamatay ang pellagra. Okay? So, the key characteristic finding ng dermatitis ng niacin looks like this. Okay? Mukha siyang may quintas. And you call that as the Casal's necklace. Casal's necklace. So, Casal's necklace is the key dermatitis finding in your niacin deficiency. Okay? Paano tatandaan? Sinong kinasal? Si Be. Corny na jokes. Ano ba yan? Okay, so let's go to toxicity, no? So, toxicity naman ng deficiency mo, you get hyperglycemia, you get facial flushing, and you also get something called podagra. What is podagra? It's when someone who has gout, kasi this niacin causes hyperuricemia. Meron kang gout, ang nangyayari, namamaga yung joint mo sa may big toe. Yung first metatarso-phalangeal joint. Kung nag-anatomy na kayo. So, first metatarso-phalangeal joint is the most common site affected by your gout. At kapag dito, nangyari yon doon sa joint ng big toe, you call that condition as podagra. So, wag malilito kung alin si deficiency, alin si toxicity. Pellagra may E, deficiency may E. Podagra may O, toxicity may O. Okay? Wag na malilito. Next vitamin is vitamin B5. B5 sounds like penta. So, this is pantothenic acid. It's a component of your coenzyme A and acyl carrier protein. So, it's also cofactors for these two enzymes na maraming hinahanap na kailangan, si alpha-ketoglutarate and pyruvate dehydrogenases. No? So, as far as deficiency, actually really rare. Okay? Madalang din tong tinatawag nilang burning foot syndrome. Nakita ko lang yan sa libro. Pero actually, rare ang deficiency ng vitamin B5 and toxicity is also very rare. Bakit? Kasi nga, tingnan mo naman, coenzyme A. Mabubuhay ka pa ba kung wala kang coenzyme A? Sa lahat ng pathways mo. So, madalang talaga na-encounter tong B5 deficiency. Okay? Next. You have your B6, yung sagot sa quiz. Pyridoxine. Okay? Pyridoxine is a cofactor for aminotransferases, yung transamination reactions natin. Your heme synthesis, yung D-ALA synthase, as well as in your glycogenolysis, your glycogen phosphorylase. So, what happens when you have deficiency of your vitamin B6? The key manifestation you encounter is actually peripheral neuropathy. Yung mga matanda-tanda, pag tumatanda na, syempre, sasabihin nila, namamanhid yung mga daliri ko sa kamay, ganyan. Tapos may tumutusok-tusok, sasabihin nila. So, yun yung manifestation ng peripheral neuropathy. So, anong gagawin? Papabili sila ng Pharex, B-complex, kasi 3 lang yon. So, 1, 6, 12, di ba? B-complex. Yung B-complex, merong vitamin B6. So, yung B6 na yon, siya yung nagsusupplement sa deficiency para mawala yung peripheral neuropathy. Okay? Next, another thing about your vitamin B6 is it can cause sideroblastic anemia. So, the presence of this prefix sidero, ang ibig sabihin yan, maraming iron. So, anong nangyayari? Bakit madami yung iron? Kasi sabi natin, your B6 is a cofactor for heme synthesis. Diba si D-ALA synthase siya yung first step ng heme synthesis. So, kapag hindi ka nakapag-heme synthesis, yung iron mo, hindi magagamit. So, mag-accumulate siya, kaya tapos wala kang red blood, wala kang functioning hemoglobin, kaya ka magkakaroon ng anemia. So, you get sideroblastic anemia. Okay? So, when do you see B6 deficiency? You see it sometimes in patients that use oral contraception as well as those that take the drug isoniazid. So, isoniazid is a drug used in the treatment of tuberculosis. So, yung anti-TB drug, di ba, meron silang iniinom na regimen. 4 drugs yun, tapos 6 months yung gamutan at least. So, the key drug that acts against your TB is the drug isoniazid. Pero very well known yung side effect niya na peripheral neuropathy. So, yung mga taong may TB, na-diagnose sila, bibigyan sila ng TB regimen, and then, bibigyan din sila ng B-complex para hindi sila mag-suffer ng side effects na peripheral neuropathy. Okay? Next, doon na tayo kay biotin. Vitamin B7. This is also known as vitamin H. Okay? Hindi ko pa rin nasa-search bakit H yan, pero H daw. Okay? So, pag may nakita kayong carboxylase sa enzyme, at tinanong kayo kung ano yung cofactor, the answer is always B7. All your carboxylases, kahit pyruvate pa yan, kahit acetyl-CoA carboxylase pa yan, kahit anong carboxylase pa yan, the answer is B7. Okay? So, the manifestations of B7 deficiency, hindi naman super high yield, parehas lang nung sa iba halos. Dermatitis, glossitis, alopecia. Ang high yield dito is this one. It's seen in antibiotic use and in excessive ingestion of egg whites. Okay? Gaano ka-excessive? Yung excessive ingestion of egg whites, it's ingestion of more than 20 egg whites per day. Okay? Hindi ko alam sinong lumaklak ng 20 egg whites per day, kaya nila na-discover yan. Pero sabi nila yung egg whites daw, meron daw siyang protein called avidin na nagbabind sa biotin. Okay? Kaya nagkakaroon ng B7 deficiency. So, kung 19, okay lang. Hindi ko alam. Basta pag more than 20 daw, excessive na yon. Okay? Next. So, doon tayo sa B9, no? B9 is your folic acid. Folic acid, ito yung binibigay sa mga buntis at balak mabuntis. Kasi it's good for the brain of your child, no? Kasi what does folic acid do? It facilitates methyl group transfer of your nitrogenous bases, or for yung nitrogenous bases, syempre, are used in DNA synthesis. Okay? So, ano nangyayari? Diba? Yung mga, diba, pag na-fertilize yung egg, isang galing lang siya sa isang cell, tapos magmumultiply siya many times para bumuo ng bata. So, what happens in the first trimester? Doon nangyayari yung formation of your brain and your spinal cord as well as your organs. Kaya nga sinusupplement natin ng folic acid yung mother para hindi sila kulangin. Okay? Kasi minsan kapag kinukulang ng folic acid, hindi fully nagko-close yung spinal cord during development. And you call that as your neural tube defect. So, yung neural tube defects, meron silang nakalabas dyan. Minsan buhok lang, minsan talagang laman siya makikita mo. So, depende sa severity ng folic acid deficiency, no? So, you want to prevent the neural tube defects, you give them extra folic acid. Kapag yung nanay, nagkaroon na siya ng anak na may neural tube defect, malaking dose, mega dose ng folic acid yung binibigay sa kanila. Para sure, okay? So, another thing that your folic acid deficiency, kapag adults naman, it can cause megaloblastic anemia. Bakit megaloblastic yung anemia? Bakit malalaki yung cells? Kasi megalo, di ba? It's large. Bakit malalaki yung cells? Ang nangyayari during kapag may folic acid deficiency. Kasi didiscuss nyo to sa HEMA, pero when you make your RBCs, they start as large cells and they become smaller and smaller. So, kapag konti lang yung folic acid mo, impaired yung DNA synthesis, so yung maturation ng RBCs mo along the series, matitigil din siya prematurely. So, instead of having your 6 to 8 micrometers na RBC, you end up with larger cells, yung megaloblastic. So, kasi meron kang blasts or immature cells dun sa serum, sa blood mo. Okay? Next. Doon tayo sa B12, similar function naman. Similar function din. Pero it's, mas kailangan yung folic acid sa mga fetus, no? So, pero sa adults, similar sila ng manifestation because yung function nila is similar for DNA synthesis. Okay? So, what I want you to remember about B12 is that it is found mostly in your animal products. Hindi mo siya makikita sa gulay. Okay? Kaya yung mga may vegetarian, yung mga strict vegetarian, yung hindi kumakain talaga ng eggs, hindi umiinom ng gatas, sila yung prone to suffer from B12 deficiency. Okay? So, what is the manifestation of B12 deficiency? Also, megaloblastic anemia, similar to the folic acid deficiency, no? So, you see it in veganism, strict vegetarians. You also see it in malabsorption syndromes. As minsan kasi may mga parasite that eats up your B12. At meron din tayo nung tinatawag nating pernicious anemia, which is the impaired yung absorption ng B12 mo because of the lack of something called intrinsic factor. So, yung intrinsic factor na yan, kailangan siya ng katawan natin. This one is produced in the stomach. Kailangan siya ng katawan natin para ma-absorb yung B12. So, kapag wala kang intrinsic factor, kunyari may sumisira sa intrinsic factor mo, or you don't produce enough intrinsic factor in the stomach, you have the impaired absorption of your vitamin B12. And you call the anemia that develops as pernicious anemia. Tapos, pag sinilip mo yung cells ng pernicious anemia, it's also megaloblastic. Okay? Next. You have your last water-soluble vitamin. You have your ascorbic acid. Ito rin yung nakikita nyong sodium ascorbate, no? Pag sodium ascorbate, less acidic siya, so mas friendly siya sa stomach mo. Pero pag dinigest mo, magiging ascorbic acid din yan sa loob ng katawan. Okay? So, what is the purpose of your ascorbic acid? It's for collagen synthesis. So, ito yung high yield dito. Your ascorbic acid is necessary for collagen synthesis. It's also a necessary cofactor for dopamine beta hydroxylase in the biosynthesis of epinephrine. It also serves as a potent antioxidant. So, ano na so far yung mga antioxidants natin? Si vitamin A, C, E. Okay? Diba yun yung nakalagay doon sa mga pineapple juice? nakalagay. ACE. O, yan. Si vitamin A, C, and E. Your Del Monte enriches their pineapple juice with antioxidants. Okay? So, what happens when you have vitamin C deficiency? You can develop something called scurvy. So, saan nila na-discover itong scurvy na to? Na-discover nila to ng mga sinaunang panahon, yung mga sailors, yung mga pirates. Pag naglayag sila, umabot sila ng buwan na sa laot. So, okay? So, doon sa laot, syempre, nung sinaunang panahon, hindi pa sila nagdadala ng fruits. Hindi pa sila nagdadala ng orange, pongkan, ganyan, kung ano. Hindi pa sila nagdadala ng citrus dati. Tapos na-observe nila yung mga crewmen, yung ba sa kanila, they started to have bleeding, they started to have easy bruising, tapos yung gums nila, nagdudugo until nagpo-fall off yung mga ngipin. So, ano nangyari doon sa kanila? They developed scurvy. So, yun yung scurvy na condition. So, from then on, nung na-discover nila na pag nagdala sila ng citrus fruits, hindi sila magkaka-scurvy, simula na ito, yung nagbabiyahe sila, may baon silang source of vitamin C. Okay? So, another thing about your scurvy is para siyang yung vitamin D. Diba? Yung vitamin D, may rachitic rosary. Sa scurvy naman, meron tayong scorbutic rosary. Bakit tayo may scorbutic rosary? Kasi your vitamin C is also a component, is the one responsible for collagen synthesis, no? So, kapag wala kang vitamin C, defective collagen synthesis, and your bone, di ba, is made up of collagen type 1, di ba? Pag bone, collagen type 1. So, kapag defective yung bone production mo, dahil defective yung collagen synthesis mo, you develop this scorbutic rosary. Okay? Next, deficiency of vitamin C can also lead to a weakened immune response. Kaya itong vitamin C, di ba, binibigay natin kapag sa mga bata para tumakas daw, pag sinasabi lagi, pampalakas ng resistensya si vitamin C. Okay? It prevents weakening of your immune response. Kaya binibigay natin siya, di ba, ng COVID, uso-uso, Immune Pro, vitamin C with zinc, ganon. So, kahit pag may maraming nagkakasipon, inom ka na ng vitamin C para hindi mo maghihina yung immune response mo. Okay? So, dito na tayo sa minerals. Your minerals are mostly inorganic elements, no? So, here are some of the major functions of your minerals. Dadaanan naman natin sila. Bodybuilding, control of processes, essential part of fluids, and form part of enzymes. Okay? So, discuss na natin yung minerals kasi medyo marami-rami, pero hindi naman siya kasing in-depth nung sa vitamins. No? So, the most abundant one is your calcium. So, calcium, alam natin, is found in your bones and your teeth. So, lesser known fact is that calcium is responsible for muscle contractions. Okay? So, before you contract your muscle, kailangan may nerve impulse. Kailangan mayroong papasok na calcium sa nerve cells mo para i-trigger niya yung contraction ng muscle. Sa loob ng muscle mo, kailangan meron ding mataas na level ng calcium para mag-contract yung muscle mismo. Okay? Your calcium is also necessary for the regulation of blood clotting. So, your calcium is also considered as a clotting factor, no? So, itong calcium triggers clotting, and it's also one of the clotting factors we mentioned. So, it's actually clotting factor number 4. Okay? So, di-discuss nyo naman yan sa HEMA, may encounter yan. So, ilan na yung na-discuss natin clotting factor? Si 2, 7, 9, 10, tsaka si 4. Diba? Si calcium is clotting factor 4. Okay? So, what happens when you have deficiency? You get osteoporosis. So, porosis kasi nagkakaroon ng pores. So, yung bone mo, nagkakaroon ng butas-butas, kaya siya humihina. Kaya pag-aging population, mas prone na sila sa osteoporosis. So, sinasabi natin, uminom ka na ng Anmum, o kaya kung anumang supplement, anumang gatas para sa matatanda. No? Okay? Pag masyado namang maraming calcium, pwede silang maipon. Pwede silang mag-accumulate in the kidney, mag-form ng kidney stones. Okay? Pag masyado ring maraming calcium, pwedeng magkaroon ng constipation. Bakit? Kasi your calcium regulates muscle contraction. Pag naging tonically contracted, yung muscles mo sa loob ng GI tract, hindi ka makakapag-EBS. Okay? Next, you have your phosphorus. So, your phosphorus is the second most abundant, also part of your bones and teeth. Pero yung other functions na is not similar to calcium, no? It's a component of your phospholipids. It's also part of your most of your metabolic pathways as a switch Pati dun sa mga energy generating substances natin, di ba? Si adenosine triphosphate, adenosine diphosphate, adenosine monophosphate, and as well as the other phosphorylated substances. No? Parang ginagawa siyang signal sa cells natin. Your phosphorus is also part of a buffer system. Ano yung buffer? It controls your pH. Okay, para hindi siya biglang tumaas, hindi siya biglang bumaba ng biglaan. Kasi the default pH is around 7.35 to 7.45, no? So, 7.35 to 7.45, yun yung physiologic pH natin. That's the pH at which our enzymes act the best. Most optimum pH sa katawan natin. Kapag biglang tumaas yung pH mo, biglang naging 14, nature yung mga enzymes mo, mamamatay ka na lang. Okay? So, ayaw natin na biglang magiging 14, biglang magiging 2 na lang yung pH ng dugo mo. The buffer system protects our body by buffering the pH para kung magbabago man yung pH, mild lang siya, 7.4, 7.5, hindi siya yung biglang aakyat, biglang bababa. Okay? Next, you have your phosphorus. If excess, it can also lead to calcification. Kasi madalas magka-partner doon si calcium and si phosphorus, no? So, it can also lead to calcification in the kidney. You can also get kidney stones. Okay? Next, doon tayo sa iron. Iron naman, na-discuss na natin mostly. 2/3 is present in your hemoglobin. Nandun siya sa heme portion of the hemoglobin. Pag bin-breakdown mo yung heme, yung iron, ilalagay mo sa ferritin, the storage form of your iron. Pero bago mo siya ilagay sa storage form, dadalhin muna siya ng transport protein na si transferrin. Okay? Tapos ilalagay mo sa ferritin. Kapag masyado ka ng maraming nakastore na ferritin, your body will start to break it down and digest it using your lysosomes, and you produce something called hemosiderin. Okay? So what happens when you have deficiency of iron? You get the ever so famous iron deficiency anemia. This is the most common micronutrient deficiency worldwide. At mas nakikita natin to, in fact, sa mga babae. Okay? Kasi yung mga babae, they experience monthly blood loss. Walang ganun yung mga lalaki. So, women have a higher iron requirement in compared to men. Okay? Next. Iron excess naman, it can be seen in certain genetic conditions such as hemochromatosis. So, dito sa mga taong to, they tend to get iron overload sa dami ng iron nila, and the iron deposits to various organs leading to organ damage. Okay? Next, doon naman tayo sa zinc. Zinc is a constituent of over 300 enzymes. So, etc. na lang yung others. So, manifestation of zinc is your zinc is actually necessary for wound healing, no? So, if you lack zinc, there is poor wound healing. You tend to have dermatitis. So, acrodermatitis enteropathica is a congenital zinc deficiency. So, this has skin affect. It has GI tract affect. Okay? So, there is inflammation and diarrhea in these patients. Zinc excess naman is encountered as an occupational illness. So, zinc excess is seen in welders. Kasi yung mga nagwe-welding, na-inhale nila yung fumes nung wine-welding nila. Kasi di ba pag nagwe-welding, mabaho yun. So, yung na-inhale nila doon, meron siyang zinc oxide. Tapos pumapasok yun sa lungs nila. They develop something called pulmonary fibrosis. So, yung lungs nila, nagpa-fibrose, nagsascar siya, tumitigas. So, hindi na siya makapag-expand ng maayos. And they can also develop pancreatitis as well as gastric ulcers. Okay? Next, you have copper. Copper, medyo bago-bago, pero it's a cofactor of enzymes that utilize oxygen. So, ito yung dyan, si cytochrome oxidase, di ba? You encounter this in your electron transport chain. So, pag kailangan ng oxygen, cytochrome oxidase, and the molecule, the protein that transports your copper is called ceruloplasmin. So, yung mga transporter molecule, yung storage form ng iron, etc. Tandaan nyo yan. Kasi may encounter nyo pa yan sa clinical chemistry. Okay? So, tas i-discuss nyo pa yung electrolytes, ganyan. So, may encounter nyo pa ulit to. Okay? So the deficiency of copper is called Menkes syndrome. In Menkes syndrome, there is impaired transfer of copper from the intestines to the blood. So, hindi siya na na absorb. So what happens in Menkes syndrome? There is growth retardation. There is an appearance of kinky hair. Okay? So yung hair nila parang alambre na balubuloktot. Kaya kinky hair syndrome si Menkes syndrome. So Menkes sounds like kinky. Okay? Next, you have your Wilson disease. Wilson disease is a disease of copper excess due to impaired transport via ceruloplasmic. Kaya hindi siya na-break down yung copper natin, no? So what happens? Copper accumulates in various organs, no? Sa liver, as well as sa ibang organs natin, at even sa eyes. So your copper, when it accumulates around the eyes, dito siya sa may limbus, dito sa may gilid ng iris natin. If you can see that, yung parang kulay brown, you develop something called a Kayser-Fleischer ring. Mas malaki, mas maraming copper, mas malaki yung ring. So, kapag sobrang dami ng copper, nagbabago na talaga yung eye color ng pasyente. Okay? Next, you have your iodine. Iodine as an important constituent of thyroid hormones. So, kapag narinig nyo yung iodine, you think of thyroid hormones. Ano ba yung thyroid hormones natin? You have your T3, and your T4. Yun yung thyroid hormones natin. Hormones secreted by your thyroid. T3 is triiodothyronine. T4 is tetraiodothyronine or thyroxine. So, itong hormones na to, they contain iodine and they are necessary for the regulation of our metabolism. So, if you don't have enough iodine, you cannot produce enough thyroid hormones leading to hypothyroidism. So, yung hypothyroidism, mas severe to sa mga bata kasi pag hindi sila pag hypothyroid sila, it can lead to stunting. Kaya nga, yan yung problema sa Pilipinas dati. Madaming batang may hypothyroidism kasi dahil sa iodine deficiency. So, anong ginawa ng Department of Health? Pinush nila na maipas yung ASIN law, yung an act on salt iodinization. Kaya ang nangyari, nagkaroon na tayo ng tinatawag na iodized salt para konti na lang yung batang magkakaroon ng iodine deficiency. Okay? So, what happens in iodine excess? You can get both get either hyper or hypothyroidism. Bakit? Kasi pag marami kang iodine, syempre, marami kang mapoproduce na thyroid hormone, no? Pero what happens kapag sobrang dami naman nung iodine mo? Kapag sumobra naman yung dami ng iodine mo, pag mataas yung thyroid hormones mo, you call that hyperthyroidism. Pero pag sumobra naman yung dami ng iodine mo, what happens is that your thyroid will shut down. So, ang gagawin ng thyroid mo, hindi na siya magpo-produce ng thyroid hormone. That's why you can also end up with hypothyroidism. Okay? Next, dito tayo sa magnesium. So, itong apat na to, basic na lang yan, madali lang yan. So, magnesium, manganese, fluorine, and selenium. So, these are more of your trace elements. So, si magnesium, medyo ginagamit pa to sa lab kasi electrolytes. So, kasama to sa mga electrolytes na tinatest natin, no? Pero itong manganese, selenium, and fluorine, hindi naman natin yan super na-encounter sa lab. So, magnesium is required for many oxidation phosphorylation reactions. The symptoms of deficiency is ito yung may hyper movement na states, no? So, nagte-tremors, nagko-convulsion, magalaw-galaw yung katawan nila. Yung excess naman nila is more of depressive effect, particularly respiratory depression. Okay? So, if you see someone with magnesium toxicity, depende sa affect, it can lead to respiratory depression. Ano nangyayari doon? The diaphragm stops moving. Hindi na gumagalaw yung diaphragm, hindi na siya hihinga. So, nakakamatay ang magnesium toxicity. I had a patient like this once, nagkaroon siya ng magnesium toxicity, bigla na lang siyang hindi huminga, at nag-color blue siya, bigla na lang within 5 seconds. Kaya ang nangyari, nag-CPR kami nang wala sa oras kasi nagkaroon siya ng magnesium toxicity. So, after nun, syempre, binigyan namin ng antidote, etc. Tapos, naka-recover naman. Okay. Next, you have manganese, which stimulates the activity of many enzymes. Ang tatandaan nyo dito is that it causes neuropsychiatric symptoms when you get manganese in excess. So, you call that manganese madness. Okay? So, psychosis, ibig sabihin, nagwawala siya, nagsisira siya ng gamit, sinasaktan niya yung sarili niya, sinasaktan niya yung ibang tao. Okay? So, eto, pag manganese, refer mo to sa toxicology para sila yung mag-treat. Okay? Next, you have your fluorine. Okay, so fluorine, fluoride, di ba? Nakikita natin sa mga toothpaste. Kasi bakit siya nilalagay sa toothpaste? Because fluorine or fluoride is incorporated into the organic substance of your teeth, di ba? Kaya nga yung mga toothpaste natin, kahit yung water natin, yung tap water natin, meron dyan nakahalong fluorine in order to prevent deficiency which can lead to dental caries. Para hindi masyadong kasi malaki yung tulong niya as far as overhead costs ng dental health maintenance, di ba? Kung nilagyan mo ng fluorine yung tubig ng lahat ng tao, less likely na may mga nakakailanganin nilang magpa-dentista in the future. Okay? Pero syempre, hindi naman pwedeng excessive yung amounts of fluorine kasi kapag sobra-sobra naman, you develop something called fluorosis. So, ano nangyayari sa fluorosis? There is mottling of the teeth. So, para siyang moth-eaten, tas mayroon siyang discoloration, nagkukulay dilaw. Okay? So, next, the last one is your selenium. Selenium is essential for tissue respiration and what tissue yung pinaka-active sa respiration? Siyempre, your muscles. So, yung muscle, ang manifestation ng deficiency of selenium is, of course, muscle affect. You have myalgia as well as myopathy. Sakit yung muscle niya, saka medyo nanghihina. Ganun. Okay? So, what is the function of your selenium? It also serves as an antioxidant. It's part of your enzyme glutathione peroxidase for the synthesis of your glutathione. Okay? So, that's the last slide. Thank you for listening.